Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and today we are going to take a look at the fact that Venus is entering a square with Jupiter through Venus's retrograde that is going to last almost an entire month. It's pretty crazy. The way that this works is, of course, Venus is retrograde right now, moving through a square to Jupiter, and will stay within the 3-degree engagement range as Venus slows down to station, turns direct, and then slowly moves through direct motion back through the square, not finally separating until way into September. So this is really, it's a pretty unique signature to it's not often that we see like a month-long Venus-Jupiter square because of how quickly Venus typically moves. So it's really interesting, given also the fact that Jupiter is in Venus's sign with a superior square to Venus, and you get a very benefic and very long time for us to experience and explore Venus and Jupiter together. Anyway, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at that. And I'll pull up the real-time clock, and I'm going to talk about a variety of different things you can watch for over the course of the next month that would fit very nicely with the symbolism of all of those details that I just mentioned. Anyway, before we do that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share your comments in the comments section. Tell us your story, or share with us how the transit is affecting you. If you want, you can use the hashtag grabbed when you do that, or email us your story, grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. We really like to hear from you guys and hear your stories. If you're using it in the comment section, use the hashtag grabbed. Tell us the transit and then tell us your story. Just don't share anything that you would mind us using in a future storytelling episode. If you want to find a transcript of today's talk, you can find it on the website, nightlightastrology.com. I want to take you over there right now because we are also holding a flash sale. So a summer flash sale. You can go over to the website and click on the flash sale tab, and you will see that all of our programs are on sale from the 14th to the 21st of August here. So you have until Monday to take advantage of this. Pretty good savings on the Masterclass series. The new Masterclass series, you can find all of those new classes that we're offering through the Masterclass series on the Masterclass tab under the courses page. All of the new ones for 24 are up. It starts in January. Roots and Spheres, our monthly moon circle, also starts in January. You can learn more about that. And then you'll see that my first year program, which starts in November, is on sale. Second year course and horary, which begin next spring. And of course, Readings and Passages, which also begins in January. All 1 year long programs in ancient astrology, available for a really good discount. So if you have any questions about those as you're checking them out, or any of our programs, feel free to email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. Hope to see some of you in those classes soon. Okay, well, let's take a look at the real-time clock, and I want to show you why this Venus-Jupiter square is not your ordinary Venus-Jupiter square. Let's see if I can. Where's my pen? Sometimes my pen just goes rogue. It's funny too, when I open it, like I never know where it's going to show up. Like it could show up. I have two screens, so show up on this screen, show up on that screen. Okay, so here is, as of today, Thursday, August 17th. You can see that Venus's retrograde has passed through the sun already. We've passed through that moment of Cazimi, which is the rebirthing moment for Venus that is so powerful. It's happened last weekend. And Venus is now in the process of rising as the morning star, and is in that sense recovering and resetting, or about to experience her rebirth. She's already passed through the square to Uranus and now is heading into the square with Jupiter. And you can see that at 17 degrees today, Venus is just a couple of degrees off from the square to Jupiter. Now watch as we draw this out. You will see that Venus goes through the actual square by Tuesday, August 22nd. But then watch what happens. We see Venus come down to within about 12 degrees and then station and turn direct by around September 5th, within 3 degrees of Jupiter's. So the square is still active. Then we're going to see Venus gradually come forward back through the square, and that square perfects around September 16th and 17th. And then we're going to see that Venus's square to Jupiter is still active. Here we are. There's the signature of the square. Again, this is September 18th. Now, if we take this forward and we give it that 3-degree range of separation, we're looking at September 22nd. So that's like a full month of Venus being within that 3-degree range that ancient astrologers paid close attention to. a month-long Venus-Jupiter square, with Venus going through that square in retrograde and direct motion, and including the station to turn direct, which is a long slowing down and turning around. So the question that we want to look at in today's talk is, what does that mean? What does it mean that we have Venus retrograde square to Jupiter for a month? Well, there are, I think I've narrowed it down to 5 things that I think that you could watch for. I always like to have a list. So I'm going to go through it, and I hope that this will aid all of us in what our experience and being able to watch for and recognize the experience of Venus Jupiter. So the first thing is that we have a new Venus making a grand appearance. And the reason that I say we have a new Venus is that Venus has been reborn. When Venus goes through her retrograde and changes from evening star to morning star, ancient astrologers talked about it as a rebirth of Venus. Venus is dying and going into the underworld and then being reborn as the morning star. Venus is youthful and assertive and brings out bold new things when she appears as the morning star. In fact, in some traditions, Venus appearing as the morning star could even be a proclamation or an omen of war. But nonetheless, Venus is coming out into the morning sky. And as she is doing so, she's in a square with, grand Jupiter. And grand Jupiter is also in Venus's sign and in a superior, very benefic square to Venus. And so it's as though, it's like a grand opening of a beautiful boutique that you've spent a lot of time creating. It's your dream, and you've made it look really beautiful, and now the doors are opening, and there's that sense of there being something grand and big and beautiful and bold, and maybe it's sort of brand new in some way. So one of the things that I would watch for over the course of the entirety of the next month would be about what new phase of life is appearing. And it has a kind of regal, grand, theatrical, dramatic, big Venusian appearance to make because it's in that square to Jupiter. So the new Venus making a grand appearance, is that affecting love and relationships? Is that affecting your home? Is that showing up at work? Is that showing up in your body somehow, in your wardrobe or your physical appearance, or even your psychology? Where is that showing? Is it showing up within groups that you belong to, or is it showing up with your kids? So watch for how and where that Venus is making its appearance. You can look at the whole sign house of Leo for a good clue, and we've gone through that in horoscopes numerous times over the summer. I think the idea of the appearance of Venus as the morning star coming out of the underworld and showing herself, and then doing so in a square with Jupiter in Taurus, there's something formal about it. By formal, I mean something that has turned from an idea into a solid thing. That's a very earthy part of Jupiter squaring Venus. Or some quality or character or desire that is becoming tangible, that's being made real. Real steps are being taken to create something that Venus is announcing or heralding. So these are the kinds of things that come to my mind. The new Venus making a grand appearance. That's number one. Number two, seeing something for what it is and slowly addressing it. Now, when Venus makes her appearance as the morning star and hits the square to Jupiter, it could be you could get the credit card bill, or you could find out that if you've been eating unhealthy, that suddenly you're starting to see the pounds appear in the places that, you worked so hard to get them off. And then you hit a patch of unhealthy, habits or something. And all of a sudden, you put a little weight on again, and you're suddenly seeing it. So although I think that this transit will tilt more in the direction of Venus's grand appearance and it being a very positive and uplifting thing, it is also possible that when Venus appears from out of the underworld in a square with Jupiter, that something is revealing itself, and it's big. And sometimes the things that reveal themselves that are big will be a big bill. You know what I mean? A big karmic debt. Or you'll just see how big something has gotten. And one of the things that can then happen, and I'm going to talk about this in another point, will be the need to deflate or almost take something down from an extreme that it's gotten to. For example, if you've bought so many clothes over the course of the past couple of years, all of a sudden Venus makes her appearance out of the underworld as the morning star in her retrograde, hitting a square to Jupiter, and you go, I have too many things. And maybe there's some need to curb or reduce because of the inflation or excessiveness that's suddenly showing itself. So sometimes that happens in a room in your house. You have to purge or release things. There has to be a letting go or a surrendering of some kind. I think that's, again, this one isn't like, I think I put this one in because sometimes the shadow of Venus Jupiter squares is excessiveness. And when Venus is making her appearance in an excessive square with Jupiter, you could get this feeling of, oh, wow, I'm seeing how big or how over the top something has become, and then maybe having to address it. Number 3 would be just the qualities of abundance, wealth, desire, sensuality, attractiveness, all being enhanced. When Venus comes out as the morning star, it could be one of those moments where you're like, I'm feeling photogenic for an entire month, or like sort of metaphorically photogenic. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling filled with life and passion and attractiveness and charm. The combination of Venus and Jupiter is associated with pleasing, enjoyable, desirable people and things and tastes and smells and sex, and it's very procreative, energetically, as well as like it could be literally associated with having kids. But just in general, for a whole month, we have this combination of Venus and Jupiter that's like a royal garden, just bursting and teeming with colors and life, and the fragrance of Venus Jupiter, again, as a metaphor, can be just intoxicating. Now, the shadow of which can be that you'll spend too much, you'll eat too much, you'll get lazy or indulgent, or there will be some way in which there's like a it's like, I've heard this said, and I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it said that when people first fall in love and are dating and they're like really, really magnetized to each other, that they'll put on weight. And again, I don't mean to hammer on the weight example too much, because I know that can be a sensitive topic, and like, Lord knows that we have too much of the world telling us that we should look a particular way and so forth. But people can, they're so happy that they'll just sit around and make love and eat ice cream all day. You know what I mean? So there's something about Venus Jupiter that pulls us into a very cushy place that's sometimes hard to get out of, because there's this kind of gravitational pull toward pleasure that can get sort of lazy and slothy. So you have to be careful of like becoming a sort of Venusian couch potato with this one. But all of these qualities amplified can also be great for business. They can be great for your love life and for your sex life. They can be great for, feeling good and looking good and taking care of your body and enhancing somehow your feelings of well-being. So really nice qualities to have amplified for an entire month. Now, remember, I'm going to put the real-time clock back up to illustrate this one. Here we go. So let's go all the way back to the month of June. And let's see, here we go. So I want to highlight what was happening. Here is Venus going through the square to Jupiter in early June of 2023 here in direct motion. So that was, over the course of about a week. See how quickly it moved in direct motion? Just a week we had in early to mid-June where Venus was square to Jupiter. Now, that square is now coming back, and Venus is working through it 2 more times over the course of a month. So if we go back to the beginning of the summer, you can think about a Venusian process. Remember, this has been the summer of Venus's retrograde in Leo in a way. So the process that began in June, maybe that was a beautifying process, a process at work, a process in love and relationships or friendships, or with a sister. A Venusian signification is sisters. Anything that would be Venusian that's been going through some kind of process is now completing itself. because Venus hits the square to Jupiter. It goes through this long transformational process, hitting a few squares to Uranus, and then goes through the death of the retrograde into the underworld, emerges as the morning star, going back through the process of squaring Jupiter. Something that we've been building, something that's been in the works since the early part of the summer, is now completing itself or somehow coming full circle. And I think that one might take a little bit of journaling. Like, you might want to take out a piece of paper and look back at June and say, what was I doing in June in different areas, different, maybe again, all the Venusian areas I just mentioned, or look at the whole sign house of Leo in your birth chart and say, what was I building? What was in the process of development that is now being completed? So that would be a really good one to do some tracking with. And it completes between now and, say, the end of September. And then finally is the idea of inflation, deflation, and finding the middle. With Venus going through the retrograde square and then a direct square to Jupiter, we might wonder about the middle path. There's a path of excessiveness, a path of inflation, a path of things getting really big. And then there might be a process of deflating what's gotten big, but not going so far in the opposite direction that we're like polarized, that we're finding some kind of middle. Venus was associated with harmony and with a kind of symmetry and proportionality that is inherent not only in things that we find beautiful, but in all of nature and the cosmos itself. So Venus has this deep tie-in to things like geometry, sacred geometry, and math and music, and beauty is something that is an intelligible, it's a matter of higher intelligence as much as it is an actual embodied sensual experience. And so one of the things that Venus is always teaching us is how to honor and acknowledge our embodied experience, the need and desire for beauty and pleasure that is the gift of life, while also not going to extremes, not coming out of a middle path that represents a kind of harmonious proportionality of life. The middle path is a path of beauty, is a path of desire, is a path that is sensual, but it's also it's always careful to stay in a kind of golden sweet spot. So I wonder over the course of the next month if there aren't lessons about the golden middle, the sweet, beautiful, sensual golden middle. And to find that, we might have to go through experiences where things get really big, and maybe also things that were big have to deflate, but not to either make us or break us or give us joy or kill our joy, but to teach us that walking in beauty means walking in truth. Walking in beauty means walking with some sense of the rightness of the moment and the need for, again, proportionality, symmetry, harmony, as much as we indulge ourselves and move into our desire bodies. We do so with a care and a presence. And I wonder if over the course of the next month, that's not a deeper lesson that we're exploring. So those are my 5 things to watch for as Venus retrograde squares Jupiter for an entire month, really. I would love to hear your reflections, as I always do. It would be really nice to hear how you guys are experiencing this now, or if you come back to this video in a couple of weeks, drop your story into the comment section using the hashtag grabbed, or email us your story, grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. Be sure to go to the website, nightlightastrology.com, to check out our flash sale, which ends on Monday. So you still have until Monday to take advantage of that. And any questions you come across as you're looking at our courses or the sale itself, email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. That's what I've got for today. I hope you guys are having a good one, and we will see you again soon. Bye.